Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 48 of A View to a Kakuranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Each week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Good, man. I'm relaxed. It's nice to be here. Good to be hanging out with you. Doing another one of these live shows.
Live and in person at my place.
At your place, which we do not do a whole lot. I always feel like this is our best work, Matt. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I feel...
Well, it always feels more comfortable because it's us just sitting in a room talking to each other.
Yeah, we're super good at that. We're like circus good at it.
Oh, yeah. And so it's not like me staring at my laptop and like listening to you on my headphones, which is also nice.
Yeah, it does. It's just the vibe of it is not quite as good.
Yeah.
So
listen,
today...
if there's two things we're good at, it's vibing and chatting.
That's stay tuned for our next podcast project, Vibing and Chatting.
With Matt and Dave.
Yeah. We're going to have to really manage the search engine optimization on that one so we do not end up with weird hits.
Speaking of hits, Dave, today we're watching a show with a lot of them.
Tenuous, but I'll take it.
It's episode 48 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. It is called The Great Snow Woman's Snowball Fight.
Sounds promising.
I believe that it is. I have seen some stills, I have seen some snowmen, and boy oh boy, I'm looking forward to talking about them.
All right.
But before we get into that, Dave,
of
course, we must pass through the gauntlet that is our...
That is our opening segment.
Our two-time award-winning opening segment. Dave, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. What, oh brother mine, is that first star of the week?
So our first star of the week it's Labor Day.
Yes.
This is another last-minute recording. If you're listening to it Tuesday, then you have producer Mark to thank, because that dude is a champ and got this edited this evening. Otherwise, it's Wednesday, and guess what? It's still a free podcast, guys.
Right.
You get what you pay for it. So,
well, because today is Labor Day, and we have all been busy this weekend.
Yeah.
But before we get into what we've been busy about, let's talk about Labor Day for a second.
Okay, first of all, I love Labor Day.
Labor Day is great.
I am a union employee now. I'm a union guy, and when I was younger, I was much more like, because I was in the brand of like young Republican and conservatism, kind of. I was like, unions are bad. And as I've gotten older, and even actually when I started working for unions, I was like, I don't know. But then like the longer I work, the more like, no, this has gotten into a weird like political economic thing. But like I'm a lot more pro-union now than I used to be. Which we mentioned because that's what Labor Day is a celebration.
Yeah. Labor Day is a celebration of like the worker, which we were talking earlier, and you were saying that means that like it should only be enjoyed by the worker.
Yeah, I feel like if you are either management or capital, you should not be permitted to properly like celebrate labor. Like, listen, you don't need to go to work,
right? Because nobody else is going to be there.
Because nobody else's work. It is work. Nobody else is working, but you should not be allowed to like enjoy Labor Day.
Right.
You should sit.
No grill out for you.
Yeah, you're not allowed to drink beers. You cannot grill. You cannot eat anything on a grill. You can't eat it with anybody. You can only, like, you can eat fancy food.
Sure.
Like, you can eat really well.
And drink some wine.
Yeah, but you have to eat it at, like, a long table.
Right, where, like, you're sitting at one end and maybe your, like, distant, semi-estranged spouse is at the other end of the table.
Right. And you eat, like, super fancy food, but it doesn't taste great. And you look out the window and you see, like, your workers and they're all, like, having a great time. And in your heart, like, you kind of want to join them, but you can't. And it has to be a day of, like, sad and solemn remembrance for you.
Right, because you lost something valuable when everyone else...
Right, everybody else gets the day off. Whatever, dude, Labor Day is the opiate of the masses.
Hey, listen, but I will enjoy that very much. One thing that I do want to mention about Labor Day is that in Cleveland, in Labor Day, every year, almost every year, they missed a year a few years ago,
Air show.
Air show, the Blue Angels are here, which I love. But what that means is that I live pretty close to where that happens, and we have been hearing them fly overhead all day. So if you hear some like weird screeching above us, that is what is going on.
It's cool. That's the sound of freedom, friends. And so don't worry about that. We're not going to, you know what? We're not going to edit it out. We're going to leave that in. You get to hear those crazy jets because they're disconcertingly loud.
Yeah. I don't know if it's actually going to happen in the next hour because I don't know when the show starts. But if you do, just quick public service announcement.
Yeah, so happy Labor Day, everybody. Hope you enjoyed yours as much as we are enjoying ours.
Now, Dave, what is our second Star of the Week?
So, second Star of the Week, Matt, is that we just cast... not you and I, at work, we just cast the fall musical.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would have been very strange if I was in some way involved in the casting.
Yeah, that would have been odd if you were there for that. So we just cast the fall musical, and we're starting rehearsals this upcoming week, tomorrow. In fact, we're going to start our first read-through, and we're doing Shrek the musical.
Really?
Yeah.
That big green boy.
Yeah, just the biggest, greenest boy. That's not true. I think Godzilla is probably... So, yeah, we're doing Shrek the musical, which is... Okay, it's a really fun show.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of name recognition.
Sure.
And also, we haven't done it the last few years because we had a new choir guy, but we used to bring all the middle school and elementary schools up to be like part of the musical.
Oh, nice.
And they would get up and do a little number and their parents would clap. It was great. But we haven't done it because the guy was new and he was like getting adjusted, but we're doing it again this year.
Okay.
And Shrek is like a great, because they've all probably seen it. Maybe Shrek is like 12 years old or something at this point.
Dave, Shrek is a living franchise. I mean...
I heard there's like a fourth Shrek movie.
Dude, there might have already been a fourth Shrek movie.
Too
Although I might be thinking about the Puss in Boots...
spin-off of that, yeah. So anyways, and that's a good show for them to like tap back in on. And Shrek is fun, but... Okay, so my part of the musical... is that I do the acting coaching. Like, I'm not a vocal music guy and I'm not a dancer. I'm the acting guy. So anything that the students have to act out, that's like that's my zone of the show. And so it's a lot of fun and I really enjoy doing it. But as far as Shrek goes, it's going to be, I think, kind of boring. For me...
Just because there's not a lot of, like, really intense acting going on in the Shrek musical?
There's not a lot of really intense acting, and there's not a lot of space for, like, artistic interpretation. We call it dramaturgy. There's not a lot of space...
Is that what you call it?
That is what we call it. There's a whole thing. And so there's not a lot of space for me to say, like, what if you tried it like this? Because if you tried it too differently, it's just no longer Shrek.
Right.
It's like, did you see Shrek? Just go do that thing. Just go do the Shrek thing. Everybody's seen Shrek. Everybody knows what it's supposed to look like. So just do Shrek.
It was very popular. Just do the donkey bit.
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to be doing a lot of like accent coaching. I think it's going to be fun. I like working with the kids. So that's the jam, man. We're going to get started. And then I am going to be in rehearsals basically from now till like April. So what, Matt, is our third Star of the Week?
Third Star of the Week, Dave, this is why we were busy all weekend and we're only able to start podcasting now, is because this was the weekend of our annual get-together with our old college friends.
Yeah.
We talk about it every year on the show because every year that it happens, like, that's the important thing in our week that week.
You might almost feel like you were there.
Yeah. And in an effort to help you feel like you were there, why don't we tell you a little bit about our weekend?
Yeah, so we had a fantastic time, as always. Our friends, they all listen to the show, I'm pretty sure. Guys, it was a delight to see you. And we just, listen, we started doing this because we were all super good friends in college, and then we all graduated. We sort of like lost track of each other. Like, we still had contact info and everything, but we just didn't see much of each other for like 3 or 4 years, I think, after we graduated. And we just decided one year that would not stand.
Right, like
basically.
It's no good.
And so we just said, like, okay, well, like, minimum once a year, we are all going to get together. Kind of come hell or high water, we're going to make this happen somehow.
Right.
And we haven't missed a year since. This was the first year that we were a little bit like, ooh, I don't know. But we made it happen. And let me tell you, again, just like life advice, if you've got some friends, like really good friends that you sort of like lost track of just because like you moved or whatever, like make the time to get back in touch. Because this weekend is one of the highlights of my entire year.
Oh, absolutely.
So we get together. I actually hosted it this year. Because we had like some weird scenarios with the twins and everything. The twins are fine. It's just like taking them out of... Anyways.
Yeah.
So I hosted this year. So everybody came and stayed at my place, which was awesome. And we just hung out and ate a bunch of good food and told stories and played games and just thoroughly enjoyed each other's company. Yeah. There's no jokes about that, guys. That's not a goof thing. This is just me like heartfeltly sharing some stuff that like is a real delight about my life. So that's kind of... The rest of this is just sort of like one metastar where we're going to talk about the con. So the focus of the con is... Well, it's hanging out. But like the secondary thing, the reason that the glue that binds our friendship together, at least at the beginning, now we're just all friends, was games. We all love games. Like role-playing games, board games, video games.
Yeah. We were all in like the gaming club in college.
Yeah. And so we used to do RPGs at the thing. We don't do it anymore. We don't play video games. So it's basically just a giant board game weekend. Mm-hmm. And we played a ton of really cool games.
Yeah.
So some games we had already played. One is called Samurai Spirit. And it's like a town defense game.
Well, okay, it's very specifically a like the Seven Samurai
inspired
like
kind of
board
thing.
game, where all 7 players are playing one of the samurai.
Yes,
except that also those samurai are like werewolves and were-tigers and stuff.
There's like a tiger and a boar and a bear and a fox and a monkey
there are
and
7
stuff.
of them. We don't need to go into the full
need
list.
But dude, that game is A, super, super fun, and B,
almost impossible to win.
Crazy difficult. I've been playing that game it's difficult to play frequently because you really do need 7 people to play it well. But I think I've won that game maybe one time. It's so hard.
I mean, honestly, you, the listener, can probably go back to last year's episode around this time, and we probably played it last year, and we probably talked about not winning.
Yeah, so that's a very difficult game. We also played a super new game, which you had played before, Matt, that I had not, called Dice Forge.
Oh, yeah. So here's the jam about Dice Forge. It's sort of like It's one of those games where you get new sort of tools to collect new resources, then you use those resources to collect new tools, eventually trying to get victory points.
Yeah, these sorts of games are usually played with cards, and the style of Dominion.
Yeah, if you've played Dominion, it's that
Sentinels
kind
of the Multiverse,
or
something like that.
This one is played with dice. Each player gets 2 dice, but the thing that makes this game interesting is that those dice are like modular, and you can pry the dice faces off of them. They're each 6-sided dice. So you like pry like the square face off of one of the sides of your die.
It's like a Lego back there.
Yeah, and like put a new one on.
So as the game progresses, like you're creating your own set of power die.
Yeah.
It's like such an imaginative, and that's one of the things I love about games and game design, is that you see a lot of people doing stuff that is like more or less takes on something that has been done before.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the times it's very fun. But this is a really unique, like I've never seen anything like this.
And I feel like it's the sort of game that could only exist in the last couple of years because, like, if you tried to make this game in the 90s, just like plastic molding was not that good.
Yeah.
And it would all fall apart every time you tried to do it.
And also this game has fantastic box design, which I appreciate.
Oh, dude, any game where all of the little fiddly bits go into the right spot and it all sort of locks itself in, I adore.
Yeah,
Lords of Waterdeep is like that too.
Yeah, it's also a really, really good box. So we played Dice Forge. You just got a new game.
I got a new game called Unearth, which is like... The weird thing is, if you look at this game, the aesthetics of it are almost exactly like the mobile game Monument Valley.
Oh, I've never played that.
Oh, Monument Valley rules. It's like a platform puzzler that's all based on like Escher-esque like perspective tricks.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's really neat. But this game, it's all about like collecting old ruins and gathering resources from it to like build wonders to like rebuild your ancient civilization.
No, it's super, super fun.
I could go more into it, but that would just be me explaining game mechanics, which would be super boring.
Yeah, I'm sure there's another podcast out there that does that. So we did that. We played our annual round of the Baron von Munchausen game.
Yes.
Which we love.
The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. I feel like we're kind of like retreading old ground here.
Yeah, a little bit. So we don't need to talk about it, but we did play it again, and it was just as great as it always was.
Yeah, like it's Listen, dudes, games are really fun. Those are some that you should try out. I mean, I feel as though we're not talking not a lot of jokes here in the 5 stars. We'll get to those in the episode.
Yeah, I feel confident. So,
any other thing that we did at the con?
Well, there's actually something that we didn't do at the con that we should talk about real quickly.
Yeah.
It's our schedule, you may have noticed, is a little bit off for this year.
Yeah.
We've missed a few episodes. Normally at the con around this time is when we release like our annual interstitial episode. Because we're between seasons of Super Sentai.
Right, because normally like that's sort of when our first season started. All of the shows go about a year, and so we try to work it so that we do our sort of interstitial episode. We actually usually record it at our get-together.
Yeah, so this year, though...
But this year we got a couple episodes behind because of scheduling things. And also, like, Kakuranger's just really long.
It's crazy long, because we're only at episode 48, I think. There's like another 6 episodes of this show.
Yeah, and so, like... I don't want to say that like I'm ready to be done with Kakuranger because I am still liking the show.
I am, but it is a little bit weird. It's weird. It's throwing off my internal clock.
Yeah, there's this part of my brain that says like you should be done with Kakuranger by now, and the fact that you're not is kind of annoying.
Yeah, no, that totally.
And there's nothing actually wrong with Kakuranger. Like it's not like Kakuranger got bad all of a sudden.
No, it's just messing with my internal clock, and I would like things to be consistent, please. Like, we live in a universe of chaos, and I would dig it if this part of my life were controllable.
So we are anxious to start O-Ranger, but we are still grooving on Kakuranger for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Oh, 5th star. We drank some Moxie. Moxie's a great regional soda.
Yeah. Moxie is like this weird, it's flavored with gentian root. And a lot of people don't like it, but we happen to love it. It tastes like perfume medicine toothpaste. But in the best possible way.
Yeah, but in a good way.
In a good way. My wife hates it. She thinks it's disgusting.
Well, listen, a lot of people do.
Right, I was drinking a can on the way over, like, to here, and she was like, what is that? Oh, it's your Moxie.
Like, so, like, the very smell of it?
The smell of it really turned her off. And it's got a really weird color. It looks like very dark mouthwash. We're not describing this in a... So, apparently the president of Moxie has a rule when he's talking to people, and he says, listen, here's the deal. You have to drink 2 cans. Like, if at the end of 2 cans, or no, you have to drink it twice, like 2 separate times, removed by at least like a day from each other. And if after the second time you don't like it, you might not just like it. But, like, you have to give it a second shot. Because it's so weird that people's initial reaction is like, oh, this is gross. And which was, my initial reaction wasn't gross, but I was like, oh, this is weird, and I'm not sure if I like it. And then I had a second can. I was like, nope, I'm a fan for life.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, I'm all in. You can't buy it around here, but...
Yeah, but they bring... some people bring it in every year for the con. So that was it. We had a fantastic weekend. We hope your weekend was also great.
We are going to take a break. We are going to watch episode 48 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, The Great Snow Woman's Snowball Fight, and we will be right back. Ninja! All right, welcome back. So we have just finished watching episode 48 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. I was totally right about loving those snowmen.
Yeah, I will also say, though, at no point in this episode was there a snowball fight, unless you consider giant snowmen to be 2 very large snowballs that are then fighting.
Well, there are snowballs in the episode. Very, very briefly, right at the end.
Oh, I missed that part. So, just before we even start this episode, Beth was watching it with me. Mm-hmm. And so, the first episode, like, it pops up, and she's watching it, and the very first thing she says is, so is this part 2 of an episode? And I just said, nope, that's just how Kakuranger is. So we open up on an ice skating rink, and there's at first I think he's a Russian skater, because he's wearing that like giant silk blousey shirt.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of traditional Russian style
red
shirt.
Yeah, with like a yellow sort of like belt around his waist.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just the 90s though. He is Japanese. And so there is a skater yokai, clearly, who rolls out. You could just tell, like, at this point, it's just very clear, like, who the yokais
Well,
are.
I mean, she's not even pretending to not be, an evil yokai.
Yeah.
She's got, like, face paint and an evil monster, like, dress.
Yeah, so she rolls up, and she's an amazing skater, apparently. So they start skating for a second.
By the way, they are skating to Once Upon a Dream.
Oh, yeah, I was not sure what was going on there. And so the guy just turns to her and says, would you be my partner?
And she's like, yes, I will, but I must warn you, I'm a very cold woman. And then they do like a little figure skating for, 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, like they vamp for a few seconds, and then she spins him away, and she uses freeze breath on him, and turns him into a very bored snowman.
Now, let me tell you about these snowmen.
They're just very bored snowmen. That's what they are.
They are a 2-ball snowman.
Yeah.
Not a 3-tier snowman. This is like a bargain basement 2-tier snowman. Mm-hmm. They have the faces on their faces and the buttons on their torsos look as though they were designed in Microsoft Word and someone was using like ASCII art to do it.
Straight up. They are not smiling.
No, it's just a black line where their mouth should be.
Yeah, I didn't say they are very bored snowmen. They're not interested in anything that's happening. So then we get just a lot of snowmen. We see a quick montage of this. Her name is Yuki Onna. We will find out later.
Yes.
We see of Yuki Onna using her freeze breath on a bunch of people who are doing athletics.
Yeah, we've got a kendo person,
a jogger, right?
A boxer, and then a karate dude.
Yeah, and they're all very surprised. She does not do any of them the courtesy of like engaging in their sport with them she did with the skater. Maybe it's because he's sort of like a wintry sport. She was like, oh, maybe you get it a little bit.
Right.
Everybody else just gets freeze blasted. And they just turn into, again, they're not like frozen in blocks of ice. They are just transmogrified into snowmen.
Yes, terrible cartoon snowmen.
Yeah, so she's got 5 snowmen now.
Yes.
And so we flip from there and we see a officer of the law. We see a policeman.
Yeah, and he is definitely like the policeman in a small town, right?
Yes.
Like he is leaving home to go do some police work, but he's just like getting on his bike and like toddling down the road.
Yeah.
It's not like he's at the station or anything.
Yeah, Officer Murata is his name.
Yes.
And so as he is leaving, his wife and 2 kids are like following him out, and his wife says, dude, isn't it your day off? It's your son's birthday. You need to stay here and like hang out with your son on his birthday. And he says, no, like I would love to, and you're my family and I love you, but like I have a duty to the law and to the people of this town.
Yeah, like this dude is like sort of a dork, but he's genuinely like brave and committed to his job.
Yeah, no, Officer Murata rules. He is my favorite person in this episode, hands down. So the wife says, do you still believe the stories about people being turned into snowmen? This is when we see Jiraiya conveniently like wander into the background.
Yeah.
And he just says like he's like, I don't know what's going on, but like something is happening and I owe it to the people of this city. Like I must leave and like investigate and find out what's happening.
Right. So like regardless of whether or not he believes that people have been magically transformed into snowmen, like 5 people just disappeared from town and he is their police officer.
Yeah, so he's like, and his kids he rides away. His kids are furious.
Yeah, they're like, Dad, like, I hate
you. You don't love us.
You missed my skating recital.
All this stuff. And so he leaves, Jiraiya overhears this and he walks up to the mom and just kind of like starts digging for a little information.
Right. And we don't actually see him get any of that information because we don't have time for that.
This is my favorite part. This is one of my favorite parts of this episode because it's such like a low level RPG move. Like as though he's like a 2nd level character starting in on an RPG adventure where he's encountered what is clearly the story hook. Like, he recognizes enough about, like, his situation to know, like, oh, this is the story hook. Like, this is the thing I need to go investigate. But he doesn't have any good leads. And so he just rolls up to the random townsperson that he has heard talking about the thing to ask them, like, did you just say people are getting turned into snowmen?
And so, like, we are not level 2 watchers, though, so we don't have to bother with this. We are now level 48 Kakuranger watchers.
Yeah.
And so we cut to Jiraiya, who has left this family, and for a moment you think it's just like in the park. And then as the camera sort of pans down, you realize that he is rollerblading.
I would say he's moving very smoothly through the park.
And what he says is that the information he gathered is that
all of the
young
targets.
People,
yeah,
like all the targets have been young people who were out doing a sporting activity alone.
Yeah. So he has decided to basically like turn himself into bait. He's a young person. He's going to go out rollerblading. He's thinking about this when all of a sudden a second rollerblader skates in from off camera. They collide and like just flip over And the camera pans back, and it is middle-aged Officer Murata, who has also figured this out and has turned himself into bait by dressing as like a caricature of a teenager and going rollerblading.
I have him in my notes as cool teen Murata.
Yeah, except he doesn't know how to dress, and he 100% does not know how to rollerblade.
Right. And so he's wearing like a million elbow pads and knee pads to try to like survive this experience.
Yeah, so he...
So Jiraiya, like, you know, accidentally knocks him over. He comes by and says, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry. Like, oh, you're the cop. Like, I should help you.
Yeah.
And the cop then immediately thinks, like, oh, well, Jiraiya must be a detective sent in from the police station. We can work together. This is amazing.
Right. And Jiraiya's like, no. He has that sort of, like, classic superhero moment where he's like, no, I can and should help you because you don't know that you're in over your head. But I also am not willing to explain to you why I'm the person to do this for you. And so he just says, no, I'm not a police officer, but like I can help you. Like this is good. Like I can help you. And Officer Murata says like, no, you are not an officer of the law. I don't need your help. You should not be involved in this investigation.
Right. Like this is police work and I am a policeman and you are some dude.
Because Officer Murata is a good cop and a straight arrow.
I feel like in a perfect world, Officer Murata would have been played by Jackie Chan.
Oh, yeah, no, you are correct. That is exactly who should have done this. So...
I mean, he's Chinese and not Japanese, but, like, listen, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in these shows.
Listen, man, yeah. So then what happens is there's another woman, like a young lady, who's, like, jogging or something.
She's a tennis player.
Okay, thank you. She's, like, there.
Yeah.
Because she's not actively playing tennis, because they're out on, like, the rollerblading trail. And as she is walking by...
And you know it's the 90s because the park has a rollerblading trail.
Right. The Yuki Onna jumps out and tries to catch the tennis player.
Yeah.
With her icy breath. But Officer Murata, hero of the episode, like, jumps in front of her. And so he takes the blast and is turned into a bored snowman.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yep.
He is amazing. The snowman form is... as always, beautiful.
Yeah, so we find out that Yuki Onna used to be a mountain pass yokai. And so I guess if you like died from freezing in the mountains, it was because Yuki Onna had gotten to you. And so here's her plan.
Because, yeah, she no longer does that anymore.
Yeah, she can just freeze people wherever.
And also, she has access to, like, the snow mandala magic.
Yeah, and so we flash away and we see, and it's just a giant snowflake where, like, the 6 points have been turned into little, like, daises. Mm-hmm. Dai? Diocese? No, that's definitely a different thing. And so, daises. Let's stick with that. And so...
You can just say platforms. It's cool.
6 platforms. And she's like thinking to the future, I think.
Right. She's imagining what it's going to be like when she gets Officer Murata to, like, the last platform, forms the full circle, and then... casts her evil, like, snow spell.
Yeah, she says, this is the thing. This is incredible.
When she does this, it is going to plunge all of the earth into, like, a snowy, hellish, like, eternal winter.
Right, I'm super into this plan. So she says, I have to get the 6th. Like, I have to get the 6th snowman. And so, like, I've got it. And she's going to try and, like, get Officer Murata.
Right.
So, right at that moment...
Right, Jiraiya is saying, like, no, like, you can't have him. And then you hear Sasuke from off-screen going like, yeah, that's right. And the other 4 Kakurangers just run up. It is the first time we have seen them all episode.
So, we get a quick fight. It's a fairly nondescript fight, but there's one super cool thing that happens.
Yeah, well, it happens a few times.
Yeah. So, they don't... Sasuke does, but the rest of the Rangers do not henge like normal... They are just all, like, mid-jump kick, and then they, like, flash with, like, a fiery spiral around them, and then they're just, like, hengade mid-kick. So they start the kick as a regular person, and then, like, by the time they hit the Doro Doro, they are transformed.
Yeah, and it's very cool because it definitely gives you the vibe that, like, these are dudes who have been Kakurangers for a full year
Right, like,
now.
they're doing it. Like, they're really, like, they've leveled up their powers. They've got some at-will stuff now. They're starting to abandon their foci. I know I'm mixing games here, but,
it's fine, though. It's cool.
You know what I'm saying? So, the Officer Murata, like, in the course of this fight, the Officer Murata snowman just kind of goes rolling.
Yeah, it just starts to roll down the hill. And no one thinks to follow him in the moment.
Yeah, which turns out to be a problem. So then the fight's just over.
Sure.
And we see the girl, the tennis player. She's at the house of Officer Murata's family. And she says, it was so noble that your father, I guess she just recognized him and, like, knew, like, oh, that's Officer Murata.
That's clearly not a teenager.
Right. And so she, like, went and found the family. And she said, your husband, dad, that's not a combo. It's
sure. Like, he saved me.
He saved me. It was so incredible.
But, like, now he's a snowman and it's very sad.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of the Kakurangers are there. I'm sorry, the Kakurangers are there. That tennis player is not a Kakuranger. This is not a very late game 6th ranger.
Yeah, and so the kids now, I guess, like, get it. They're like, oh my gosh, I never knew that, like, Dad was such an amazing police officer.
Yeah, like, I always sort of, like, blew him off. It's like, oh, it's just Dad. But, like, now I appreciate him. I promise I won't, like, cry and complain when he misses my birthday anymore. Right. Please, 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 just go save my father.
Right, it's because Officer Murata is also humble.
Yes.
So Jiraiya comes up and he's, like, wrought with emotion. He says, just as your father has risked his life for, like, the people of this town, we will risk our lives to get him back. Like, we promise we're going to get your dad back.
So they go out searching for the snowman that is their father.
Yeah. So,
which, for some reason, is not just at the bottom of the hill that it was rolling down earlier.
Yeah, so we find out that they're not the only ones who are looking for him, because we flash over to Daimo's floating skull palace, and Daimo is saying to Yuki Onna, like, you can't find him? Like, where is he? Like, you should have kept track of him. I do not understand why he's not just literally at the bottom of the hill. So, and then she says, if you can't find him, like, the mandala won't work. So can she only make 6 snowmen?
You know, I think that must be the case, because I feel as though we have run across similar situations to this in the past, and our headcanon for it is always just...
like, her capacity to create snowmen is limited.
Right, like, she needs to make 6 snowmen for this plan, but that is all that she can do. She can only make 6 snowmen. It's like when that one of them brought all the ghosts back.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they accidentally...
It was 5 ghosts, and one of them was Granddad. It was, like, the wrong one, and yeah.
Right, and, like, they couldn't just get another one without returning the first one.
Well, I guess so the yokai are all, like, they've all been trapped. Mm-hmm. So this is, like, the last vestige of their power is, like, they're all using their last, like, blurbs.
Well, no, they got all their power back when the seal door opened.
Well, they got what was left of it back.
Oh, maybe.
Like, they got it back to be powerful enough to, like, cause some havoc. But that's why, like, you know, they can only do a little bit. They've got this, like, one last shot of giantism, and then, like, they go down forever. So, just roll with it. I can see the doubt in your face. I'm desperately trying to make sense of this show. Like, just roll with me. Okay. So she can only make 6 of these snowmen. So they have to find Snowman Murata.
Oh, but to help find them, Daimao enlists some backup.
Yeah, he sends the flowery Kunoichi Gumi with Yukiona. Yukiona. Yeah. So...
we come back to the Rangers. They're still looking for this snowman. And they have now entered a junkyard.
Yep.
Like an old, broken down car's junkyard.
Yeah, and so they're all together. Like, they haven't split up.
It's not as though they've all split up, and this is the place where one of them is like, well, I guess I got to look somewhere that the other 6 aren't looking.
I'll check the junkyard.
I'll check the junkyard. No, all of them. The Kakurangers, the tennis player, I think, and the children.
And Ninja Man, I believe.
And was Ninja Man there at this point?
I think so. If he's not, whatever.
But the whole group is together looking for this dad in a junkyard.
Yeah. So as they're wandering around, Tsuruhime looks over and she sees something dripping from behind a car. And this is enough of a clue for her to investigate, because nothing in a junkyard drips.
No.
So she runs over. And of course it's Officer Murata.
And he's like in between two cars, wedged up on top of a third one.
I just desperately, I need to know what was going on in the writer's head. Like, because I feel like they have to at least have a narrative. Like, they have to have a complete narrative in their head that they're cutting down from to make this episode. And I need that interstitial piece that's from their head as to how in the world we rolled from, like, the top of a hill into a junkyard.
Now, do we think that perhaps
is the junkyard just at the bottom of this hill?
Maybe, or Officer Murata briefly had some, like, agency to move around? Like, he could, like, move his snowman body around a little bit? Maybe there was a magic top hat involved?
Could be. There are a lot of parallels to Frosty the Snowman. Red Skelton, not one of them, sadly.
Burl Ives.
Burl Ives, not one of them. Is it Burl Ives? I thought it was Red Skeleton. No, it's probably Burl Ives. Burl Ives, sadly, not one of them. Whoever narrates that thing, I love that guy.
Yeah.
So they find Murata, and he's melting. He's melting.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I don't know what winter in Japan looks like. I've seen documentaries. I feel like it largely looks like winter. Like, there's snow and everything.
Well, I think it probably depends on where you are in Japan. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's Japan a long place.
It's a long...
Or it's a tall place, I guess, however you want to think about it.
It's largely, like, north-south oriented, right? So it can be very cold up in, like...
The north part of it.
And then... I paused as though I was going to remember what the northern part of Japan was called.
I was going to say, Matt did just make a face as though he was about to drop some Japanese geography knowledge on us.
Okinawa is...
Is Hokkaido in the north? I have no idea.
Is Okinawa in the north?
Okinawa is definitely not in the north. Definitely in the south.
Whatever.
So anyways, I just don't... Like, he's melting. Murata is... And it's, like, very sunny, but I think it's supposed to be wintertime.
Yeah, in any case, it's a bad situation for a snowman to be in.
Yeah. So
especially when that snowman is a real human person who has become a magic snowman.
Yeah, so they're like, we got to get him out of here. So they just pick him up, like, bodily, and this is the most structurally sound snowman I've ever seen.
Right, because
they're just holding him sideways.
Because Seikai is holding the head, and Jiraiya is holding, like, the bottom torso part, and it's just sticking together.
Right.
Now, the reason that they're running away is because at this point, Uki-onna and all of the yokai minions have arrived to try to reclaim the officer.
I do know that you are phrasing your sentences, Matt, such that you will not have to say the words flowery kunoichi gumi.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. I can say flowery kunoichi gumi anytime I want to.
Hey! So they did. So there in my notes is the KIG. So the kunoichi gumi are there. They fight. So what happens is that some of the Rangers play rear guard, and Jiraiya and Seikai run off with Murata Snowman.
Right. So they're running down the street until they find happenstantially an abandoned, like, freezer truck.
Maybe they were just, like, pulling the delivery out because the keys are still in it.
Right. The keys are still in the truck, but no one is there. Jiraiya says, like, listen, I'm sorry to the owner of this truck, but, like, we have to take it.
We're taking this truck.
So they open up the back, they throw the snowman in, they circle back around to get in the cab of the truck.
Yep.
But by this point, the flowery Kuchoinigumi...
Nope. Kunoichi gumi.
They all show up, and...
Yuki-onna is there as well.
Yuki-onna is there. And Seikai is able to... like, sort of distract them enough that Jiraiya is able to escape.
So Jiraiya is driving away, and they're still chasing him. The truck, like, gets hit with ice breath. He kind of, like, gets run off the road. So he hops out of the truck. There's some Dorodoros there. There's a really good fight. There's a really good, like, Jiraiya unhengate fight.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel like I'd like more of that.
So he jumps out of the truck, and he's fighting some...
Just some Dorodoros.
Yeah. He is fighting them, and then he, like, jumps up to the top, like, on top of the freezer truck.
Oh, I don't know if you noticed this, Matt, how he did that jump. He jumps on a Dorodoro and uses its stomach as, like, a trampoline to launch himself backwards to the top of the truck.
Lands on the top, fights two more Dorodoros on the top.
Yep.
Knocks them off, pulls out a couple of smoke bombs, throws them down towards the Dorodoros and Yuki-onna.
Yep.
And then doesn't hop back down to the ground, but sort of, like, hops down directly from the top of the truck, sort of back into the cab.
Yeah. Guys, it's again, I know we do a podcast. You're really missing out because Matt is miming this entire sequence.
Oh, yeah. So now, normally Dave and I aren't in the same room, but that does not stop me from doing it. I'm doing a lot of, like, hand diagrams.
Like, it's like for yourself.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Time.
Trying to keep stuff straight. There's a lot that happens in this show,
There's a lot happening.
Dave.
So he gets back in the truck, and he manages to drive away. The Kunoichi Gumi, they try to explode the truck with some, like, ninja dynamite. Which
sort of, like, distracts Jiraiya a little bit, but not enough to get him off track.
Right. He drives, like, off-road onto another space.
Right. One of them then jumps down.
I think it's two of them.
Oh, yeah, two of them. So two of them jump down. One of them is trying to, like, open the driver's side door where Jiraiya is.
Yeah, and then the other one is kind of coming in from the other side.
Right, coming in the passenger side door. So he's able to, like, knock the one that's coming into the driver's side door off. Mm-hmm. So it's just him in the passenger side door. Flowery Kuno Ichigumi.
Yep.
I'm going to be so glad when the show is done and I never have to say that again.
But we get a really cool, like, in-car
yeah, it's awesome.
fight scene.
They're, like, in the front seat of this car as it's driving, and they're fighting and trying to kick each other out of it.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about this.
Oh, yeah. Because, well, we were talking about James Bond movies and how James Bond movies have...
They're always dated.
They're always dated. Right.
Because, like, they're always doing, like, something that's very, very cool at the time, but is not necessarily cool later.
Right. And so one of the things that we were talking about that, like, they're probably going to get super into in the next couple of Bond movies is self-driving cars.
Yes. And so...
Now, to be fair, just so I'm not going to get any letters, I know that there was already the remote control car in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, you know, Google-style driverless cars.
Right.
And so what we're going to see is, like, Bond, like, fighting a dude in a car while the car drives itself down a highway.
Right, and it'll sort of be like a new version of the classic Bond fight on a train.
Yeah. So
which are, of course, always the best Bond fights.
Oh my gosh, those are so amazing. So anyways, we get kind of this in-car fight.
Yeah.
So it's Jiraiya versus two of the Kunoichi Gumi. It's really, really cool.
He gets knocked out of the car.
Yes.
Like, he loses control... Well, you know, not loses control of the vehicle like the vehicle flips over.
Right.
He is just...
No longer in control of it.
And somebody else is.
It's just not him.
He gets kicked out of the door. And immediately, like, he does not give up. He turns around and starts running after the truck.
Yeah.
Now, normally what happens in a scene like this is that the truck drives away, and then, like, Jiraiya would sort of run
to a
stop, and then be like, they got away. That is not what happens.
Yeah, he makes what is gotta be a solid, like, 120-foot jump. Just, like, horizontal jump to snag the back of this car.
He's holding onto the bumper, and he has a flashback to when he was talking to the children and saying that he would sacrifice his life to try to get their father back.
Yeah, so he's like being dragged along the back of the truck.
Now, at this point,
flashback.
Cool music starts.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you know when you're listening to an old Western and, like, there's a bit of the soundtrack where the horns come in, but there's specifically, like, old Western movie horns?
Yeah, like hero horns?
Yeah, like, that's what's happening right now. It's cowboy movie soundtrack.
Because Jiraiya is...
Of course, yeah.
So
it's a nice, like, weird leitmotif.
So he's being dragged behind this thing. He hears the music. And the music inspires him.
Of course.
And he, like, launches himself with his arms and, like, jumps to the top of the truck. And then he sort of, like, swings down, kicks them out, and manages to, like, get in charge of the truck again. We see that they rented a helicopter for, like one shot. We get this, like, one giant pan away shot. It was clearly, like, an aerial pull away. I don't know why, because we haven't seen any other helicopter shots.
Maybe they were using a lot of helicopter shots in whatever episode of Kamen Rider they were filming that week.
And they were just like,
we already rented the helicopter.
We got
Let's
the
just
helicopter.
send it over to Sentai.
So he's back at the thing. Oh, and then his charger, his Doron charger, like, the communication beeper beeps. So, like, the other Rangers are trying to get in charge of him. Okay?
Yeah.
So we flip... Oh, the Kunoichi Gumi, they stop him again.
Yeah, they, like, surround the truck.
Yeah, which, the truck is moving, so I don't know why he doesn't just run them over.
I don't know. Maybe that just seems like too brutal for Jiraiya.
Maybe. So they
he'll hit you with a giant robot and send a bunch of exploding tiny robot frogs out of the mouth of his giant robot frog to go mess you up, but he's not just going to hit you with a car.
Yeah, so they just sort of get him out at sword point. They just basically hijack the truck and they drive away. So the Kuno Ichigumi now have the truck and Snowman Murata.
Now, I'm sorry, we missed a crucial element here at one point. At some point between the time that Jiraiya got the truck back and getting stopped again, he pulled down an alleyway and was sort of getting away from them. Right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We did see that.
And then it was when he came back out of that alley that he got surrounded and the truck was captured.
So we go from there down to the quarry where the mandala is. Because
why not?
I'm out of jokes. I'm out of jokes for that one, Matt. They're in a quarry. This is, I've got learned helplessness about it. I've given up making sense of it or caring about it. They're in a quarry. So they've got the snowman set up. And Yuki Onna does what is if I were running the LARP that she's clearly playing, I would make her do this ritual again. I'd be like, you clearly did not put in any thought. Your roleplay was bad. You had a cool prompt, but that's all the time you spent on it. So your magic doesn't work. It doesn't work because you did it lame.
And now that does actually happen because the magic doesn't work.
She just walks around in a circle, putting her head up and down, just saying snow and hail and snow. It's super boring.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. The magic doesn't work. And she's trying to figure out, the Kuno Ichigumi are there, and they sort of start looking around at the different snowmen, and they blow on one of them. For reasons I don't understand.
Well, because they put their hand on it and they say, hey, this snowman isn't cold.
Oh, that's right. And then they blow on one and then the snowman glows. Its face glows a little bit. And it transforms. And it's Ninja Man!
Yeah, it wasn't them, it wasn't the cop at all.
So he jumps away and then the other Rangers show up. And Yuki Onna is furious. They're like, what's going on? And they say, ha! Gotcha!
In the moment where Jiraiya was able to drive down that alleyway where you couldn't see him, we did a switch. And, we pulled the actual snowman out of the back of the freezer truck.
Right, and we stashed him someplace.
We brought him to a safe location. And now, we put Ninja Man in.
Who does Ninpo Snowman transformation.
Right.
Turns into a snowman. Dude,
now, this is kind of the plot of, this is kind of the end movie, haha, got you moment from the fourth Fast and Furious movie.
Which one is that?
It's the one where they have the vault.
Oh, the one down in Brazil, and it's a fakey vault because
it starts with the real vault, and then halfway through the chase, they
That's right. They launch it up onto the spoilers, guys.
Yeah.
They drag it up onto a giant flatbed truck and have a replacement. Giant safe. So it's.
If you haven't watched Fast and Furious movies, what are you even doing with yourself?
Yeah, I love this. Dude, I'm so into this.
Right.
Because this is the second time in a couple of episodes that we've had a super sneaky ninja plan.
Yeah, and this time they specifically mentioned oh, this was Ninja Man's plan.
Yeah, he came up with this one. Tsuruhime is super proud of Ninja Man.
So proud of him, as though Ninja Man is her son.
Yeah. So at that point, now we're fighting. We fight.
Right. Everyone else sort of fights in a big group.
Yeah.
But Jiraiya then goes and squares off with Yuki Onna.
Yeah.
And it's a really great fight.
Yeah, it's pretty extended. It's a solid minute and a half.
A lot of cool choreography. I'm not going to go into the beat by beat of this fight, but if you watch this episode, pay attention to it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's really, really well done. He does Rock Hell, which I don't think we've seen before.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, have we?
Okay. I don't think we've ever seen it work.
Yeah.
So because the time that he did Rock Hell before...
Oh, they just had reverse Rock
It was reverse Rock Hell, and it just hit him in the face with a boulder.
So he does Star Cut, which is his special
Shooting
thing.
Star Cut.
That's right. And then, so Yuki Onna goes down.
Yes.
She turns giant. Mm-hmm. And she says, I'm going to fight all you novices. And then Ninja Man says, novices, us, anger explosion. Now, we just found something out from our buddy Cody.
Oh, yeah.
So our buddy Cody had a friend who, I don't know how this came up, except that like Cody listens to the podcast, and I maybe was like talking to a friend of his about it, because he's got a friend who lived in Japan for like a number of years for work. And apparently, not only, you know, there's like the novice greenhorn sort of like thing. There is, and I should have done more research on this between when Cody told me to me and now, but I feel like not doing research is a real hallmark of this show, Matt.
Yeah, that's what we do. We do three things in this podcast. We go through the 5 stars.
Yep.
We recap the episodes. We do zero research.
Yeah. And so, but what this friend said, I can't remember their friend's name, is that I guess in Japan, there is a concept, like there's a word for it, like a specific word for the concept of someone tells you that you can't do something, and you're so angry that they have assumed that you can't do it, that you like Hulk out, and their disdain about you not being able to do it like fuels your righteous indignation and actually helps you to accomplish the thing. So,
yeah, which, you know, huge if true.
Yeah, so Ninja Man is like the living embodiment of this concept.
If he is in fact living and not just like a magical construct, which I'm still not sure about.
Magical ninja robot construct. I'd be fine either way. So he goes giant. He turns into Samurai Man. They summon Muteki Shogun, or not Muteki Shogun, Kakuranger Dai Shogun, and then Yuki Onna does the greatest summoning spell that has ever been done.
Yes. First of all, she makes it snow.
Yep.
So to sort of like set the stage.
Which is cool.
And then she summons 2 giant snowmen. Now, these giant snowmen are identical
to the very, very boring snowmen.
Except, well, they have arms sticking out of the side and legs coming out of the bottom.
Yep.
And also, these snowmen are no longer bored.
Right.
Because now they are angry, which you can tell because there are just like angry eyebrows drawn on the faces.
That's the only thing that's different. And so they just like run out, and you could like, their arms, the snowmen are so wide that the actors that are inside can't get their whole arms out. So it's just from the elbows down, I think. And they're just like wandering around, like waving their arms. And like kind of slapping at Ninja Man and Kakuranger Dai Shogun.
And this is the moment when they're being slapped by the snowman that Yuki Onna does an attack that shoots a ton of snowballs at the both of them.
That's
to
right.
knock them off balance.
Okay, this is where I missed it because I was looking at something else, probably a baby. And then when I looked back, they were just frozen.
Right. So she then does like the freeze breath that she had done earlier.
They were wrapped up in saran wrap.
They were wrapped up in saran wrap and then like with some white spray paint sort of kind of thrown on top of the saran wrap to make it look like ice. Oh no, like you look at it and you know exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So they're all frozen, but...
Oh, and like, yeah, Yuki Onna is coming in for the kill when they're frozen. But then, just as she's about to hit them, a giant fiery sword comes out like just off screen, and then a fist comes from off screen and knocks Yuki Onna in the head and sends her flying back, and Muteki Shogun is here.
Dude, I love the dude who does the voice for Muteki Shogun.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the line, Muteki Shogun is here, and it's so like heroic and powerful.
Yeah.
So Muteki Shogun is here. He drops Flaming Sword.
Yeah, and also the flame from his sword melts the ice that was on Samurai Man and Kakuranger Dai Shogun.
Yeah.
So now everyone is free.
Right, so Samurai Man uses Rage Cut, and Kakuranger Dai Shogun uses Iron Fist Flying Finish. And that, at this point, this is the end of Yuki Onna. Like, that's it for her. So when she dies, the snow mandala disappears.
Right.
The people are safe again. Everybody's cool. They untransform from bored snowmen back into to regular people.
The police officer who had been moved to
his name is Officer Murata, Matt.
Officer Murata has been moved to
show a little respect.
A freezer car somewhere. And so when he transforms back, like first of all, he's not wearing shoes.
Because he was wearing rollerblades.
Because he had been wearing rollerblades and he had to take them off because he had no idea how to rollerblade. So he just is wearing his socks standing on ice and immediately he's like, oh no, it's freezing.
Very cold. And he walks out of this remote location of the industrial freezer that he's been stashed in, secretly, by the way, and his family is waiting for him.
Well, I'm sure they told the family.
I guess. Okay, clearly they did. But his family is just waiting there for him, and his kids are like, Dad, like, we get it, like, we understand and we love you now.
Yeah.
And,
and that's basically it for that. We cut away to like a cliffside where the Kakurangers are staring out onto some misty mountains. And Sasuke says,
"The spring is still a distant future, but spring will come.
Let's keep fighting until the end."
Yeah. And again, like, he's saying that as though they're in, like, the depth of winter. It looks like a very pleasant spring day.
Yeah, none of them are even wearing jackets.
Right, they're just chilling out. It's like the sun is shining. There's no snow on the ground. So that's it, man. That's the end of the episode.
That's it for the episode.
Just so good. I love this episode.
This was very fun. But that's not it for our episode, Dave.
True, Matt.
Because we need to decide how Yuki Onna will fare in the Creature Royale. Okay, so how do we feel about Yuki Onna? Just like, give me a gut check.
I dig her. I dig her plan. I feel like I say this too much, but I really feel like kind of somewhere in the middle.
Okay, so like when you say somewhere in the middle, let's try to find a comparable.
She doesn't stand out to me in the same way that like Sickle Weasel does.
Okay, so Sickle Weasel is currently at number 29.
Okay. So run me down a few from her.
Okay, so after Sickle Weasel, we've got...
Lieutenant Shiryu's in there somewhere, isn't he, right?
Lieutenant Shiryu, I think, is actually a little above that. Below the Sickle Weasel, who is Kama Itachi.
Thank you.
We've got the Shuten Doji brothers.
Okay, love those guys.
We've got Kyokigan, the disease monster.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Oboro Gumara, the taxi driver. Shiro Niri, the rag strangler.
Okay, dude. Shiro
and that is when we hit Lieutenant Shiryu.
That's right. Okay. So I mean, here's the thing.
And directly below that, by the way, is Dara Dara.
Okay. So Yuki Onna has a cool plan, and I dig that she turns people into bored snowmen.
Yes.
But her
great visual.
Her look is kind of lame.
Her look is very like
it's just sort of like evil ice princess.
Yes, it's a very evil ice princess.
But then her yokai form is just that exact same thing, and she has like a mask on and some hand prosthetics.
Yeah,
like, her look isn't that cool.
Which I feel like we get that a lot with a lot of the like pretty lady yokai, because the second like the woman umbrella yokai.
Oh yeah.
Like was very much just like she was a pretty lady umbrella person, and then she transformed into a pretty lady umbrella person with like a face made out of rubber mask.
Yeah. So her look isn't super great. I like that she turns people into bored snowmen.
I mean, her look is very much like mid '90s ice themed mini boss from a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, crushed it. And so. But she's not super successful with it, and her, like, crazy high magic thing that she tried to do was kind of lame.
Yeah.
So, as an episode, it was super fun.
And I liked her giant fight a lot more than I like a lot of other
Okay,
giant
that
fights.
is points in her favor. So...
Because usually, by the time we get to, like, the giant robot
fight... It's basically over.
Yeah, like, there's nothing really happening. But this one actually gave us some cool elements that we don't normally get.
Yeah, so roll me down from Lieutenant Shiryu.
Well, after Lieutenant Shiryu, we've got Dara Dara.
Okay.
We've got the Master Mirror.
Okay.
We've got the Pachinko Master.
Dude, Pachinko Master.
We've got the 3 jewelry priestesses from Ranger.
I think they're cooler.
Okay, so after that, we've got Chauchin Kozo, the ghost lantern, who summoned all the ghosts earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's cooler.
He's good. Dude, actually...
low on the list.
I was going to say, maybe my initial thing was kind of... My first gut check was wrong. Drop me down like 10 places. Where does that put us?
Nirakabe, the wall dude.
Okay.
And then right above that is Kappa and Rokurokubi. Then we got Traffic Light Dimension.
Well, listen, man. Yuki Onna does not have the panache of Kappa and Rokurokubi.
Okay, after... I feel like she's got to be better than Nurikabe, right?
The wall guy? Dude, he built that, like, crazy living whole crazy maze thing.
Yeah, but that, like... At least Yuki Onna had a plan to, like... Had an
take over
endgame
the world.
plan.
Okay.
Like, Nurikabe was just... bothering children.
Okay, so let's say, and actually, better than Kappa and Rokuro could be on that front too. So I don't like her plan. Actually, here's what I'd say. I would put her just below Bakaneko, because Bakaneko also had a great end game where she was going to dry everything out. Mm-hmm. She's also like a crazy lady, but I don't think Yuki Onna is quite as cool.
Oh, drying everything out, that's not Bakaneko, that's Tsunekake Baba.
Oh, that's right. So
Bakaneko was the cat lady who was
ran
eating
the B&B.
people.
That's right. Okay, so then Tsunekake Baba. I think she's just below Tsunekake Baba.
Okay, cool. So that will put her on our list at number 45.
How about that?
All right.
So I think that is it for us, Matt, right?
Yep, that is going to do it for another episode of A View to a Kakuranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes, or if you want to check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember, shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, subscribe, review over there, or your podcatcher of choice, because that is what's going to help new people find the program.
Yep.
Speaking of the program, it is a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. You can find any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.